Hazrat Michael, I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, it's very special to me today to be here with you guys and to be sitting next to Don and Caleb as well. They've been everything to my recovery from when I came in, and ironically, where we doing this meeting today is where my life changed, just on the streets outside here, 10 years ago. So when I park the car and it's just an amazing sort of reflection I can clearly sort of see then, and I can clearly see now. But I don't for 1 minute think that then is different to now. That I don't have the ability to go back there. Although a lot has happened and a lot has changed, and I've managed to string up many hours and many days and weeks and months and years, I haven't arrived anywhere special where I can forget, who I am, what I am, where I come from. I really don't feel like that, which is good. So yeah, it's it's emotional. So I think obviously, for us, and I've never treated a meeting as about me, although obviously I do end up getting a lot out of a meeting, but it isn't about me. So it's never really been a dumping ground for me, and that's the way that I've chosen to do my recovery. It's been more about other people, and as much as for them, it's about other people, and that's how it affects me, and that's how this thing works. But sort of toward earlier recovery and sort of going through a first-year birthday and a second-year birthday, and I think the past is still very raw, so it comes up a lot. But sort of where I'm at now is that my upbringing and my past and what happened kind of is irrelevant, because the end result was the end result. It didn't matter who I was resentful toward, whether my relationships, whether my family had whether they were dysfunctional or not, whether we had money or not, those things are irrelevant. The thing to look at for me was that, what was the end result? The end result was that I had no idea how to live. That was the end result, regardless of the circumstances. And the journey into recovery started for me in 2003. Was when I was exposed to this fellowship, and when I first started attending meetings. But I'm a difficult customer. I'm an alcoholic. I don't trust people easily. I'm not honest. I think I know better. I'm arrogant. I'm this. I'm all the things you're not supposed to be. That's what I am. Regardless of the circumstances, whether you give me everything or you give me nothing, I'm still going to complain. I'm still going to say it's not enough. I'm still going to look for something else. I'm still going to be discontent. And that's what I am. So obviously it didn't work with that sort of mentality and that sort of complete lack of understanding on actually how life is in comparison to how I see it. I mean, never mind getting a program right, you get nothing right. Nothing. You got no chance. I mean, it's just the way it works. I mean, it's quite logical. But what's even more amazing is that I wouldn't think like that. I think I've got every chance of getting everything right. So and that's when they say, the power of the disease, and that's what they mean. Logic and sanity and good decisions, and they don't exist in active alcoholism. Sometimes they don't even exist in recovery. That's what this disease is real. It's not a made-up thing that some people got together and decided to just have this interpretation. It's years and years and years and millions of people and experience and different opinions and doctors' opinions and all sorts of things. Most importantly, I mean, alcoholics' opinions, people that have experienced it on both sides. And that vicious circle for me went on for 5 years. And as when they say it gets progressively worse, I agree with that. I can confirm that. Every time I would go back into treatment, I think, my gosh, this is so much worse than the last time. And it actually like hadn't even begun. And then I would go again and do it all again, and I'd go back and I'm like the only thing I really am here is alive and just, heart beating. It cannot possibly get worse than this, and it does. Somehow it does, and it gets worse and it gets worse. And so yeah, to just fast forward and sort of, I want to sort of take it from where it started for me, because I think that's ultimately where my life changed and why I'm sitting here today. So when I was up at the treatment center and I got a particular call the previous evening, which completely freaked me out, and I still had this fight in me that I could fix things and make things right. So early hours of that morning, I ran away from the treatment center. So I ended up outside here on this road here. So I had nothing left. I had absolutely nothing left. But I'd always had my whole life, I'd managed to always convince someone to come and, sort of keep those doors open. And a whole lot of stuff happened that obviously I wasn't aware of because the way this thing works and the way God works is they talk about that third dimension. It's mysterious. It's you can't. It's too divine to try and put into words, because there's always plans going on around you that you can't see and you don't know. You don't know what the plan is, and there's you thinking you're a very important person and you can control things and you're making all these plans and everything, but you actually know, you don't know anything. You know nothing. It all works around you. It works in this whole thing, and what had happened is that there was a series of phone calls that I found out later on that were made to the treatment center, and the people that made those calls were advised not to come and fetch me. And I was sitting here, and I was trying to buy money to use the payphones, and I was phoning various people, and I was trying to get out of the situation I was in. And after a few hours, I realized no one was coming. And I was sitting here on the pavement here, and then all of a sudden, it just sort of hit me. I just started to have the most intense sort of self-reflection on my entire life. And, you know, I was looking, I could see clearly where I was. I could see clearly you know, if you, on the corner there, you can see the highway there. And I reflected, and everything started to unfold. And it was very, very intense. And what I'm saying to you is what they call that moment of clarity. And going through that process, and I can't tell you how long it lasted, but toward the end of it, I realized for sure that it was definitely the first honest thing I've ever done in my life. And what that was is that I had acknowledged that it was as a result of all of my choices and my actions and my decisions that got me there. It was never about my upbringing. It was never about my friends. It was never about the difficulties and the troubles and anything, whether there was abuse, whatever it was. It had nothing to do with that. I'd been going through this vicious circle of trying to find out, why are you like you are? Why are you doing the things you're doing? It's because of this. It's because of that. It's because of that. It's because of this. It's always because of something. But I was so fortunate that I got that reality, and I could see it, and it was honest, and I knew it was honest. I knew for a fact that it was my doing. And you know, it was such an emotional experience to sort of see years and years and years and years of blame and lying and manipulating and this and everything, from a small boy to come to one point, and then acknowledge and see for myself where I am and what I have and what I've lost, and then take that and, you know, and own it. and then you know, after that, it was a clear decision. It was, you know, you're going to go back to treatment, and you're going to trust this process, and you're going to. I wanted it. I really wanted it. You know, I really wanted to. I wasn't worried if I lost anything. Like, if anything that was dear to me, whether any of those people or things didn't want anything to do with me again, and I didn't know what was gonna happen when I went back there. But I would have understood that. It was not about anyone else at that particular time. I really wanted to stay alive, and I really wanted to do this for myself. I really, really did. It was actually all I wanted. And then you go through the process, and I can honestly say for myself, I worked very hard when I was up there, and I started to get into it, and obviously with the support of, you know, Don and Caleb and Keith and you know, the other counselors that were there, and just working closely with them, and with them actually having the love and the energy to put into me, and to give me what they had, you know, and for me to trust that process, and it just took off, you know. It really did. It was just the most incredible, you know, what I felt and what I experienced, and what I learned about myself, and what I learned about, you know, what this whole thing actually meant. And you know, you get, when I say normal people, you know, they have like dishonesty. We have like layers, you know. There's layers to this thing, you know. You can think you're being honest, in the meantime it's like the biggest dishonesty, and it takes a bit of time to sort of get through it. That's so deep rooted. I'm so good at doing this thing, you know, and I think that's ultimately what the steps were about, you know, was going through each different step and each different process and each different layer, and getting closer to God, getting closer to myself, you know, getting closer to life, you know, and smelling the flowers again, and looking at the trees, and looking at the you know, and actually connecting in again, and of course, you know, seeing the damage, seeing what needs to be repaired and what needs to be restored, and you know, because I mean, you can't go through all of that without the guilt and the shame and everything that comes with it. I mean, the two go hand in hand. I mean, you know, if you don't have the guilt and the shame, and you've got nothing to also drive you to correct it, you'll just leave it. If there's, you know, you need something to go back and to deal with. Yeah, that was just amazing, and you know, I'll never forget my time in there, and then yeah, I came out, and yeah, it's just the normal guys, you know, meetings and this, and you know, sponsor, and just checking myself left, right, and center, and you know, just also like still quite unsure, because when you go through years and years where you can't string a few days of sobriety together, you start to come up to like a month, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's like a month, like, and then you get a month, and you're like, phew, you know, and then the next thing it's like 2 months, and then the next thing it's 6 months, and you're like, no, 6 months can't be 6 months, you know, and then 6 months comes, and you're like, you know, sheesh, like what is going on here, you know, and then the next thing you know, you're coming up to a year, and these little milestones start to come, and that's where the belief in that it works, because it's working, you know, and that's the evidence. That's, you know, that's the proof in the pudding, as they say. But it's not all. My recovery hasn't been all a bed of roses, because I'm still Mike the alcoholic. I still, you know, I'll speak about when just before I was coming up to my 1 year, my father lived in Greece, and he came to South Africa to see me, and I hadn't seen him in 4 years at that time, and we had an amazing time. You know, I was in recovery, and he got to see me. I was obviously sober, and the last week he was here, he suddenly like fell ill. We didn't really know what was wrong, and he ended up going back to Greece and getting admitted into hospital, and he was diagnosed with cancer. Just, you know, very, very sudden, and that was a very difficult process. You know, I went through in a very short space of time. Within 15 months of him being diagnosed, he was dead. You know, I was traveling to Greece. I was going to meetings, and I didn't know what to do. You know, I used to phone my sponsor. I was beside myself. I didn't know what to do. What do you do? What do I say? What do I do? How can I help? I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know, you know, and my sponsor just used to always remind me, you know, as long as it comes from your heart, that's the most sort of honest place, you know. Just try and be aligned with what's in your heart. And, you know, I was there because I loved my father. I was there because I wanted to be with him. I wanted to help him. You know, that was my motivation for being there, to do anything to be by his side, you know. And it was very difficult going through that in a foreign country, but the fellowship was there. So I used to go to meetings and just cry if I needed to cry, or if I needed to speak, I would speak, or if I needed to listen, I would listen. because it was the one thing that I didn't feel like picking up. I just didn't feel good. I felt sad. I felt, I felt a lot of emotions I don't like to feel. It was painful. And but I did what I needed to do, and eventually to the part where, toward the end, I was feeding him, through a straw, and and I had to say goodbye to him, how do you say goodbye to your parent? Where in the book do they tell you how to do that? You know what I mean? You have to do it, whether you like it or not, because it's the right thing to do. Does that mean I must go pick up now because I've had to say goodbye to a loved one who's ill? Does that give me the right to pick up and to destroy everyone else's life around me, including myself? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because if there's things in life that an alcoholic wouldn't be able to cope with, then it means this doesn't work. And this does work. So that means there's nothing in life that an alcoholic would have to pick up. There's not one experience that there wouldn't be a solution to, which means there's no excuse. It's a fact. So I asked myself, how bad do you want it? Well, I want it as bad as the time I was sitting outside here. I still want it that bad. So if I have to sit and say goodbye to my father, that's fine. I don't like it. I wouldn't have chosen it. It doesn't make me unique or give me a license to go and do whatever I want to do now and give me the perfect excuse. In saying that, living with the pain after that was very difficult for me. And I started to act out. I started to look for things to make me feel better. Because I wasn't willing to, I was open to the discussion. I would get the suggestions, but I wasn't willing to follow them. And as a result, you've heard it, you can be in sobriety, but you can be doing things and the only thing you're not doing is drinking. You're just as crazy, you're feeling just as everything that you're hurting people just as much. You're doing everything the same except you're just not drinking. And I've had experience in that too. Because just because I came in these rooms, I'm not a saint. I never came here on good behavior. I do horrible things. I'm not honest. I'm all of the, as I said, all of the above. Through trying to get honest, through working a program, through doing stuff like that, I become honest. I don't start honest. I don't start selfless. I start selfish. Then I become. I can't do those things. I can get those things through working something, through God and through how this process works. Because what I find is that the actions and the decisions that are aligned with the program and with God and with my sponsor, my reality starts to change, and it starts to move me in these spaces. So it becomes second nature. You eventually end up in these things, and it just starts to flow. So then you don't have to have fear. Well, how's it going to work? How's it going to work if today I had a good day, what's going to happen tomorrow? You start to trust the process. I mean, I'll give you an example. One of the things I got into was gambling while I was in sobriety, because I fixed off it. It helped me with, well, it didn't help me, but in my mind I thought it would help me with, all it was just a distraction, because I wasn't dealing with the root problem, you know, and that falls in the same category as alcoholism. It's treated as the same thing. So I've been through that as well in sobriety, and I promise you it doesn't work, and I promise you that it doesn't matter what it is that whatever it was I was doing. The fact of the matter is, alcoholism has got all the time in the world. I don't. There's only going to be so many times that it's going to give me an opportunity to deal with the root problem before it's too late. But regardless, the root problem has to be dealt with. Otherwise, that experience will keep coming until that's dealt with. It's just the way that, the way that it works, which isn't a bad thing. I wish I could just deal with it the first time and just get it out the way, and because it would be a lot less painful and a lot better for everyone else. But I mean, that's part of being human and part of being an alcoholic. It's never really the first time out. You take the advice and you use it. Another thing that where I've sort of reflected on is, I think when you come into sort of early recovery and you hear a lot of words, surrender and acceptance and honesty and selflessness and all these different words, and for me in sort of early recovery, those were all amazing things, because it was I started off on a clean slate. So actually, although I had a lot of experience in active and what that life was, I really didn't have much experience in recovery. So a lot of these words, it's easy to sort of speak about them, but they only really start to resonate and mean something over time, when you start living your life on life's terms, and you start getting back into society, and whether it's in the workplace or home life or relationships or whatever, all your different affairs. That's where things start to get complex. That's where the emotions come. That's where you've got the chance to be dishonest, and you start to, because your self-will now, you've got your self-will back. And that's where this whole thing happens. So I'm starting to really understand what it means when they sit in the meeting in early recovery and they talk about growth. What does growth mean? What does progress mean? What does it mean to surrender? Because I'm having to try to practice those things in recovery now. So my perception and my sort of understanding of all these key words that we hear in these meetings and read about, sort of how those things actually work. And when I look at it, like I said, I'm not by any means do I think like I'm at a sort of like this is a destination, like I've arrived. I don't, but I can feel that from where this thing started to where it is today, I really have grown a lot. I've learned a lot more about honesty, and I've learned a lot more about all these a foundation and all these, how these things work, and all through just experience, not because I'm clever. It's actually come from mistakes, and come from living, and come from like taking a chance and saying, you know what, I know I'm scared, but I'm going to make a decision, and I'm going to, I'm going to see how this thing ends up, which is amazing, because I've actually made a lot of decisions and I've actually done a lot, you know, in this short space of time. You know, and I mean, yeah, very early on, coming into into this. I mean, I got employment quite early on into my recovery, and I had a, you know, very successful time with this firm, and I joined a new firm 4.5 years ago. I run a very big operation within a very big business. I have it's incredible the responsibility that I have, and what I have to do, and some of the people that I sit and negotiate with, and I mean, it just doesn't add up, you know. It's a miracle. It's an absolute miracle. I mean, there's not a single person in the workplace or that would have taken a second glance at me outside here. In only 10 years, and 10 years later, in you know, in my particular industry, I negotiate and deal with the largest corporations in Africa, head on, you know, and I'm able to sit and listen to them, and they listen to me. It's a miracle. It's an absolute miracle. How that is possible. How that job even came about. How I ended up in this whole, how this whole journey's worked out. It's an absolute miracle. You know, today I've a beautiful fiance. We're getting married in July. I've got 2 beautiful kids. My daughter is 14. My little boy just turned 2. Very happy, you know. She goes to an amazing school. You know, just incredible to see it all. The sports and the this and that and this whole thing. You know, to be there. You know, just incredible. Especially with the boy, because at that time I was using until she was 4, so I don't really have too much to say about 0 to 4. It came sort of after that, but with him, I'm there. You know, I'm experiencing the whole thing. It's just incredible to be a part of it. Just absolutely incredible to feel all those things. Yeah, I've got solid relationships today, solid friendships. You know, I maintain a good level of respect with my peers, and you know, whether it's in the workplace or whether it's in society or just in general, and yeah, you know, I'm very happy. It's nice to experience that as well. You know, to sort of be able to give respect and be respected in return, you know, and have that sort of level of integrity and a rapport with your fellows, you know. I enjoy. That's another gift, you know, that I've got in this, and I think. Yeah, for me, it's just not forgetting who I am, and I've been very lucky. You know, there have been times that I have, and my decisions have shown that, my choices, that I've gone contrary to who I am. But I've always sort of I've had that, you know, that where they talk about sort of that awakening, and that awakening of the spirit, and where I've been fortunate is that I've always had a willingness to come back and to say, listen, actually, this is actually what's going on. I'm being dishonest here. You know, and even if I have to do it 100 times, if I have to come back 100 times, I'm coming back 100 times. but I'm gonna deal with that. And when I deal with that, something else is gonna come up, but that's all right too. That got dealt with, and I just haven't really lost. I don't for 1 minute think I can't go back to who I am. I don't have a shadow of doubt. This is the most powerful disease, because you can't work it out. So that's the funny thing about it. It's amazing to laugh about it, because it's not really a laughing matter, but it's funny to think that you can outsmart it. It's just amusing. It's impossible. So it's just I think that's why I'm so grateful that I know that as well, because it just makes the decision so much more straightforward. It's like black or white. There's no gray area. You either want to be in recovery or you don't. One or the two. You want to sort your life out or you don't. That thing of, like, my problem is alcohol. That's an absolute lie. My problem is not a liquid in a bottle. The problem is much more than that. That's not the problem. So I think the best way to start is to see it for what it is. If that's not the problem, what is the problem? And then it's black or it's white. And just to finish off, honestly, I am proud to be I am proud, as much as I'm acknowledging as well, and I'm telling you I've made mistakes, and I go against this thing from time to time, and I'm not a saint, and I can tell you all these things, but it's a miracle. It's a miracle that I get to sit here today, 10 years of sobriety, and I'm proud that I've stuck around. I'm proud to still be next to my friends and my fellows through it all, and I've loved all of it. I really have. It's been an absolute blessing. Absolute blessing. I've got every chance, today, whether or not things go my way or not, but the fact that I'm sober, and I'm locked into a program, I'm locked into my sponsors, and I'm locked into my, this sobriety, I've got every chance of self-correcting. The other part is that, like I said earlier, there's another dimension that goes on here, and that's God. And he can't be understood and he can't be worked out, and that's fine, because he definitely, or he or she or whatever, but for me, loves me way more than I love myself. That's certain. So as long as that is that, how the results sort of unfold and where they go, and what does it matter? I'm in good hands. I always have been. I was even in good hands when I was outside here. I was even in good hands from 2003 to 2008 to getting me here. That was good hands. That was creating the path for this. So what is it? I've always been in good hands, whether I like it or not. Whether I choose to accept that or not is irrelevant. It is. It's always going to be like that. So you may as well make the most of it. Thanks for letting me share.